Hello, welcome to Story to Fluency. Today, you will listen to a story. This story is called I Met a Stranger Who Changed My Future. Before we start, remember, don't just listen. Listen and repeat. Listen and shadow. Speak with the story. This story will help you improve your English, improve your listening, and improve your speaking. Relax, focus, and let's begin.
The rain started suddenly. One moment, the sky was clear. The next moment, cold drops were falling on my face, my jacket, my bag. People around me began to run. Some opened umbrellas. Some hurried into cafes and shops. I didn't move. I was standing in front of the old bus station, holding a small piece of paper with an address written on it. I had no idea where I was going. I had arrived in this city only 3 hours ago, a city I had never visited before, a city where I didn't know anyone, a city that was supposed to be the beginning of my new life. But right now, it felt like a mistake. I looked at my phone. No signal. The battery was at 5%. Great, I whispered. I put the paper in my pocket and looked around. The bus station was old and noisy. The walls were dirty. The lights were weak. People were sitting on benches with tired faces, looking at their phones, their bags, or nothing. I felt exactly like them. Tired, lost, empty. 2 months ago, I had quit my job. Everyone said I was crazy. "Why would you leave a stable job?" my father asked. "You don't have a plan," my mother said. "You're going to regret this," my boss said. Maybe they were right, but I couldn't stay there anymore. Every morning felt heavy. Every day felt the same. I was 26 years old, and I felt like my life was already finished. So I saved some money, I bought a one-way ticket, and I came here. No clear plan, no clear future. Just a hope that something would change. The rain became stronger. I walked into the bus station and sat on an empty bench. I put my bag on the floor and closed my eyes for a moment. What am I doing? I thought. My phone vibrated. 1%. I opened a map app quickly, but it didn't load. The screen went black. The phone turned off. I sighed and put it in my pocket. Perfect. I looked around again, trying to find someone to ask for directions, but I felt shy. My English was not very good, and people here looked busy, serious, and not very friendly. I stood up and walked to a small coffee stand inside the station. A young woman was working there. I pointed at a coffee and said, "1 coffee, please." She smiled. "Sure." When she gave me the coffee, I tried to ask, "Excuse me, do you know this address?" I showed her the paper. She looked at it and shook her head. "I'm sorry, I'm new here too." Of course. I thanked her and walked away. I sat down again and drank my coffee slowly. It was hot and bitter, just like my mood. I watched people come and go. A man in a suit talking loudly on the phone, a mother holding a crying child, 2 students laughing and taking selfies. Everyone seemed to have somewhere to go, except me. I checked the big board with bus routes. The names of places meant nothing to me. Suddenly, someone sat down next to me. I didn't look at first. Then I heard a calm voice. "You look like someone who is waiting for something, or someone." I turned my head. He was an old man, maybe in his late 60s or early 70s. He had gray hair and a short gray beard. He was wearing a long, dark coat and holding a small bag in his hands. His eyes were very calm, very clear. "You're not waiting," I said. "I'm lost." He smiled a little. "That's the same thing." I didn't know what to say. He looked at my bag, then at my face. "You're not from here." "No." "New city?" "Yes." "New life?" I was surprised. "How do you know?" He smiled again. Because you have that look. What look? The look of someone who ran away from something. I laughed quietly. Maybe. He was silent for a moment, then said, "May I?" He pointed at the paper in my hand. I gave it to him. He looked at the address carefully. This is not very far, but it's not easy to find if you don't know the city. Great, I said. He stood up. Come, I'll show you. I looked at him. Really? Really? Why? He shrugged. Because I have time, and you look like you need help. I hesitated. My parents always told me not to trust strangers, but something about his voice, about his eyes, felt safe. Okay, I said. We walked out of the bus station together. The rain had stopped. The air was cold and fresh. We walked slowly. You came here to work? I asked. I'm not sure, I said. I just came. He nodded. Sometimes that's the best way. We walked in silence for a few minutes. Then he said, You know, I came to this city 40 years ago. Really? Yes, with one bag, no plan, no friends, no money. And? And it was the best decision of my life. I looked at him. What did you do? I failed many times, he said. Then I failed again, and again, and again. That doesn't sound very good. He laughed. It is, because every failure taught me something. We stopped at a small street. He pointed. Your place is that way. 2 more streets, then turn left. That's it? That's it. I felt a strange disappointment. Oh, I said. Thank you, really. He nodded. Before you go. Yes? He looked at me seriously. Don't try to find a safe life. What? Find a meaningful one. I didn't know what to say. He smiled, turned around, and walked away. I stood there and watched him disappear into the crowd. I thought I would never see him again. I was wrong. The room I rented was small, very small. It had 1 bed, 1 table, 1 chair, and 1 small window that looked at a gray wall. The air smelled old, but I didn't care. I put my bag on the floor and sat on the bed. I was finally alone. I lay down and looked at the ceiling. The old man's words stayed in my head. Don't try to find a safe life. Find a meaningful one. What does that even mean? I whispered. I closed my eyes, but I couldn't sleep. My mind was too loud. The next morning, I woke up early. The city was quiet. I took a shower, put on my jacket, and went outside. I had no job, no plan, no friends, but I had time. I walked around the city. I looked at buildings, streets, shops, people. Everything felt new and strange. I tried to imagine my life here, but I couldn't see anything clear. Around noon, I saw a small cafe near a park. I went inside and ordered a cheap sandwich and tea. I sat near the window and watched people walk by. Suddenly, I saw someone familiar, the old man. He was sitting alone at a table outside, drinking coffee and reading a book. I blinked. Is that really him? I thought. I stood up and went outside. Excuse me, I said. He looked up. Then he smiled. Ah, the young traveler. I didn't expect to see you again, I said. Me neither, he replied. Sit down. I sat in front of him. What are you doing here? I asked. Drinking bad coffee and reading a good book, he said. I smiled. We were quiet for a moment. Then he asked, So, how is your new life? I don't know, I said honestly. It doesn't feel like a life yet. He nodded. That's normal. What do you do? I asked. He closed his book. I run a small workshop. What kind of workshop? I fix old things, chairs, tables, clocks, sometimes people. I laughed. People? Yes, people come with broken dreams. I can't fix them, but I can listen. I liked that answer. Why did you help me yesterday? I asked. He looked at his coffee. Because someone helped me when I was your age. Who? A stranger. I felt something strange in my chest. We talked for a long time about the city, about life, about mistakes, about fear. Then he said, "Are you looking for a job?" "Yes, but I don't know where to start." "Do you want to work?" "Yes." "Then come to my workshop tomorrow." "What?" "He need help," he said, "and you need direction." "But I don't know anything about fixing things." He smiled. "You can learn." I hesitated. "How much do you pay?" He laughed. "Not much." I laughed too. "That sounds honest." "Think about it, but don't think too much." That night, I couldn't sleep again. But this time, my mind was not heavy. It was curious. The next morning, I went to his workshop. It was in an old building in a quiet street. The sign was small and old. Inside, it smelled like wood and dust and oil. There were old chairs, broken tables, clocks without hands, and in the middle, the old man was working on a small wooden box. "You came," he said without looking up. "Yes." "Good." The first days were hard, very hard. I didn't know how to use the tools. I broke more things than I fixed. My hands hurt. My back hurt. My pride hurt. But he never got angry. He only said, "Again," and "slower," and "look carefully." Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Slowly, I started to learn how to fix a chair, how to repair a clock, how to be patient. Sometimes people came and told their stories about lost jobs, lost love, lost hope. The old man always listened. I started listening too. One evening after closing the workshop, I asked him, "Why do you do this?" He looked at the sunset through the window. "Because things and people are not broken forever. They are just waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For someone who doesn't give up." I was silent. One night, I realized something. I wasn't running anymore. I was building something, and I didn't even notice when it started. Winter came quietly. The streets became gray and cold. The trees lost their leaves. The workshop became colder, but also calmer. There were fewer customers, and the days were slower. I started to like the slow days. One morning, the old man didn't come. I waited. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. He was never late. I called his phone. No answer. I felt a strange worry. At noon, I closed the workshop and went to his apartment. He had told me where he lived, in a small building near the river. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. I tried the door. It was not locked. "Hello?" I called. No answer. I went inside. He was lying on the floor in the living room. My heart stopped. I ran to him. "Hey! Hey!" His eyes were open, but he looked weak. "Hospital," he whispered. I called an ambulance. That day felt unreal. White walls, loud sounds, fast steps. The doctor said he had a weak heart. He had worked too much. He had ignored the pain. He stayed in the hospital for a long time. Every day after work, I went to see him. We didn't talk much. He looked smaller in the hospital bed. One day, he said, "The workshop." "What about it?" "You must keep it open." I laughed nervously. "I can't do that alone." "You can," he said. "You already are." I wanted to say no. I wanted to say I was not ready, but I didn't. The next day, I opened the workshop alone. It felt strange, too quiet, too big. I made mistakes. I fixed them. I made more mistakes. I fixed them too. People still came, some for chairs, some for clocks, some to talk. Weeks passed. Then one day, the doctor called. I already knew. The funeral was small, very small. Not many people, but everyone looked like he had helped them once. I stood there and felt empty. After that day, I closed the workshop for 3 days. I stayed in my room and looked at the ceiling again, like the first day. What am I doing now? I asked. On the fourth day, I went back. I cleaned the workshop, I opened the door, I turned on the light, and I stayed. Months passed. One afternoon, a woman came in with an old broken clock. "This was my father's," she said. "Can you fix it?" "I'll try," I said. When I fixed it and gave it back, she cried. That day, I understood something. I was not just fixing things. I was continuing something. One evening, while cleaning, I found a small box. Inside, there was a letter. It was for me. "I knew you would find this. You came here lost. Now you are here for a reason. This place is yours if you want it, not because you owe me, but because someone will need you, like you needed me." I sat on the floor and cried. Spring came. The trees became green again. The city felt different, or maybe I was different. One morning, I saw a young man standing in front of the workshop. He looked tired. He looked lost. He was holding a small piece of paper with an address on it. I opened the door. "Can I help you?" I asked. He looked at me. "I think I'm lost." I smiled. So was I. He came inside slowly. He looked around like he was not sure if he was in the right place. "I just arrived today," he said. "I don't know anyone here." I nodded. "Sit." He sat. I made tea. He told me his story. Different details, same feeling. Running, searching, hoping. I listened. When he finished, he asked, "What should I do?" I remembered the old man's voice. I said, "Don't try to find a safe life." He looked at me. "Find a meaningful one." He was quiet. Then he smiled a little. "Can you show me where this address is?" I looked at the paper. It was not very far. I took my jacket. "Come," I said. "I'll show you." We walked into the street. The air was warm. The city was loud. Life was moving. As we walked, I realized something. I had stopped running. I had started guiding. And somewhere in a different part of the city, a stranger was probably helping another lost person. That's how it continues. That's how it always will. Years passed. The workshop changed. Not much, but enough. The walls were cleaner. The tools were better. The window was brighter. I changed too. Not much, but enough. People kept coming. Some with broken chairs, some with silent pain, some with no clear reason. I fixed what I could. I listened more than I spoke. Sometimes the young man I helped came back. He stayed in the city. He found a small job. He smiled more. Sometimes he helped me in the workshop. One day, I was sitting alone, drinking bad coffee and reading a good book. I saw someone standing outside. A young woman. She looked at the sign. She looked at her phone. Then she came in. "Excuse me," she said. "Do you know this address?" She showed me a small piece of paper. I looked at it. I smiled. "Yes," I said. "It's not very far, but it's not easy to find if you don't know the city." She looked tired and hopeful. "Come," I said, taking my jacket. "I'll show you." As we walked, I thought about that rainy day, about a bus station, about an old man, about a simple choice. I met a stranger once, and my whole future changed. Now, sometimes, I get to be that stranger. One evening, I closed the workshop and walked by the river. The sky was orange and quiet. I stopped at the bridge and looked at the water. I thought about how close I was to giving up, how close I was to going back, how one simple conversation changed everything. I didn't become rich. I didn't become famous, But every morning I opened the door with calm in my heart. Sometimes that is enough. I walked back to the workshop. I turned off the lights, I locked the door, and I went home, ready for tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up before the alarm. The city was still quiet. I made tea and stood near the window. People were walking to work. Buses were starting their routes. Life was moving. I put on my jacket and went to the workshop. I opened the door. I turned on the light. A new day started. And somewhere in this city, someone was about to meet a stranger who would change their future. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The workshop was quiet. The air smelt like wood and dust and oil, the same as always. But that morning felt different. I cleaned the table. I organized the tools. I opened the window and let fresh air in. Then I sat down and waited. The first customer came around 9, an old woman with a broken chair. "This chair is older than me," she said. "My husband made it." I fixed it carefully. When she touched it, she smiled like she was touching a memory. After that, a young man came with a watch that did not work. "It stopped on the day my father died," he said quietly. I fixed it. When it started ticking again, he closed his eyes. The day went on like that. Small things, big feelings. In the afternoon, I took a short walk. I passed the bus station. I stopped. I looked at the entrance. For a moment, I saw myself there again, tired, lost, holding a small piece of paper. I smiled and kept walking. When I came back, someone was waiting in front of the workshop. A boy, maybe 20 years old. He had a backpack. He looked nervous. "Are you open?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He came in. "I don't know why I'm here, but someone told me you listen." I nodded. He sat. He talked. About fear, about pressure, about not knowing who he wanted to be. I listened. When he finished, I said, "You don't have to decide everything today." He looked at me like he was going to cry. "Thank you," he said. After he left, I stayed quiet for a long time. That evening, I cleaned the workshop slowly. I turned off the lights one by one. I locked the door. On my way home, I walked by the river again. The water was dark. The city lights were moving inside it. I thought about the old man. I could almost hear his voice. Things and people are not broken forever. They are just waiting. I smiled. At home, I wrote in a small notebook. Not plans, not goals, just moments. That night, before sleeping, I understood something very clearly. My life was not big, but it was full, and that was enough. Spring became summer. The days grew longer. The workshop was full of light and warm air. One morning, I found a box in front of the door. Inside, there were old tools and a small note. "Thank you for fixing my father's clock. He would be happy." I put the tools on the wall. I used them every day. One afternoon, a man came in wearing an expensive suit. He looked out of place. He looked at the chairs, the clocks, the dust. Then he looked at me. "You are the owner?" he asked. "Yes." He nodded. "I want to buy this place." I was surprised. "Buy?" "Yes, this area will change. New buildings, new shops. This place will be worth a lot." "I'm not selling," I said. He smiled, like he didn't believe me. "Everyone sells," he said. "Not everything," I answered. He left. I felt strange. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought about money, about easier life, about safer life. In the morning, I remembered the old man's words. I opened the workshop. A little girl came with a broken music box. "It was my mother's," she said. I fixed it. The music filled the room. She laughed. I forgot about the man in the suit. Weeks later, he came again, with papers, with a better offer.
I said no. He stopped coming. The city kept changing. New cafes, new buildings, new noise. But inside the workshop, time moved slowly. One evening, I sat and looked at the wall of tools. I realized something. This place was not just mine. It was a promise. One morning, I found a crack in the old wall, a small one. I touched it and smiled. "Nothing lasts forever," I whispered. I fixed it. Life went on. The young man I once helped came back often now. He learned to fix chairs, then tables. Sometimes he listened to people too. One day he said, "You helped me, and I want to stay and help others." I nodded. That's how it starts. Another year passed. The city became louder, faster, but the workshop stayed the same. One afternoon, a woman came in with a familiar face. Older, tired, but familiar. It took me a few seconds, then I understood. It was the woman from the cafe, the one who worked there when I first arrived in the city. She looked at me. "Do I know you?" I said, "You sold me my first coffee here." She smiled. "Ah, the lost one." "Yes." She laughed. "You look found." She had a broken lamp. I fixed it. We talked. She said she wanted to change her life. I said, sometimes it starts with small things. When she left, I felt something warm in my chest. That evening, I walked by the bus station again. A young couple was arguing. A man was sleeping on a bench. Someone was running to catch a bus. Life was still the same and still different. I stood there for a moment. Then I went back, because I knew where I belonged. One night, I dreamed of the old man. He was sitting in the workshop, smiling. "You're doing fine," he said. I woke up with calm in my heart. The next day, I opened the door, and someone was already waiting. Another story, another beginning. He was a middle-aged man. Tired eyes, heavy shoulders. He held a small wooden box. "I heard you fix things," he said. "I try," I answered. He put the box on the table. "My son made this," he said, before he left. "Left where?" He was quiet for a moment. "This life." I opened the box carefully. It was broken inside. "I don't know why I kept it," he said, "but I can't throw it away." "I'll see what I can do," I said. He nodded and left. I worked on the box slowly, very slowly. When it was finished, it didn't look new, but it worked. When he came back and opened it, his hands were shaking. He didn't say anything. He just stood there for a long time. Then he said, "Thank you." After he left, I sat alone. Some stories stay with you. That one did. Days passed, then weeks. One afternoon, I received a letter. No name, just an address, and one sentence. "Come if you are ready." I looked at the address. It was far, outside the city. I didn't know why, but I felt I should go. I closed the workshop for one day. The young man stayed to watch the place. I took a bus, then another bus, then I walked. The road was quiet. There was an old house near a field. I knocked. A woman opened the door. She looked at me like she was expecting me. "You came," she said. "Yes." Inside, the house was full of old things. Chairs, tables, clocks, all broken. "All of these belonged to my husband," she said. "He died last year. He fixed things, like you." I felt something strange in my chest. "I don't know what to do with them," she said, "but I can't throw them away." I understood. I stayed there all day. I fixed one thing, then another, then another. When the sun went down, the house felt lighter. Before I left, she gave me a small photo. It was a picture of the old man, my old man, young, smiling. "She once helped me," she said. I couldn't speak. I walked back in silence. That night, I looked at the photo for a long time. Some strangers never really leave your life. They just change places.
I put the photo in my pocket and went back to the workshop. The city felt louder than usual, or maybe my heart was quieter. I didn't tell anyone about the house, about the woman, about the photo. Some things are better kept inside for a while. The next morning, I opened the workshop as always. The young man was already there, cleaning the table. "You're early," I said. "So are you," he smiled. We worked in silence, good silence. Around noon, a boy came in with a broken toy car. He looked angry and sad at the same time. "My father said it's impossible to fix," he said. I looked at the car. It was very broken, but not impossible. "Sit," I said. He watched every move. When the wheels finally turned again, his eyes became big. "Can I tell my father?" he asked. "Of course." He ran out. I smiled. In the afternoon, I took out the photo again. I put it on the wall near the tools. The old man looked at the room, at the work, at the life. That evening, the woman from the house called me. "I sold nothing," she said, "but I started cleaning." "That's a good start," I said. "I found his notebook," she said. "He wrote about a young man once. He said, 'Today I met myself, but younger.'" I closed my eyes. We were quiet for a moment. "Thank you," she said. "No," I answered. "Thank him." Autumn came again. Leaves fell, the air became cold, the workshop became warmer. More people came, more stories stayed. One evening, the young man who worked with me said, "I want to open a place like this one day." I looked at him. "You will," I said, "and you will help someone who thinks their life is over." He was quiet. Then he nodded. A few weeks later, he left. Not forever, just to start something. I watched him go. I felt proud. One night, I walked to the river again. The same bridge, the same water, but not the same person. I thought about the bus station, the rain, the small piece of paper. If I had missed that bus, if I had walked one street in a different direction, everything would be different. I went back home and wrote in my notebook, "Sometimes the smallest meeting is the biggest turn." The next morning, someone was waiting in front of the workshop. A woman, with a suitcase, with tired eyes. "I was told you listen," she said. I opened the door. "I do." She came in slowly and put the suitcase near the door. She looked around like she was not sure if she was allowed to be there. "I won't stay long," she said. "I just don't know where else to go." "You can sit," I said. She sat. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she started to talk. She had left her city, left her job, left a long marriage that had become quiet and cold. "I feel like I am too late to start again," she said. "You're not," I answered. She looked at me like she didn't believe it. "I don't even know what I want," she said. "That's okay," I said. "Sometimes the first step is just to stop where you are." She smiled a little. She stayed for tea, then for another cup. When she left, she looked lighter. Days passed. She came again. Then again. Sometimes she talked. Sometimes she just sat and watched us work. One day she said, "Do you need help here?" I looked at her. "With what?" "With anything." She started helping, cleaning, organizing, talking to people. She was good with them, very good. The workshop changed again, not in walls, in feeling. One afternoon, the man in the expensive suit came back. He looked at the workshop, at the people, at the noise. He didn't say anything. He just left. I never saw him again. The woman with the suitcase found a small apartment. She started to smile more. One evening, she said, "You know, I think this place saved me." I shook my head. "You saved yourself." She was quiet. Then she said, Maybe, but I'm glad I found this door. Winter came again, snow this time. The workshop was warm and bright. People came in to escape the cold, to fix things, to talk, to breathe. One night, after closing, I stayed alone and looked at the wall of tools, at the photo, at the small cracks in the walls, at the life inside this place. I understood something very simple. I did not come to this city to find a job. I did not come to find success. I came to become someone who stays. The next morning, I opened the door, and someone new was already there, holding a small piece of paper, looking lost. He was young, younger than me when I arrived. He held the paper like it was the only thing keeping him standing. "Is this place open?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He came in. He looked around. He breathed out like he had been holding it for a long time. "I don't know why I came here," he said. "That's normal," I answered. He sat. He told me his story. A job he hated, a family that didn't understand him, a life that felt too small. "I want to leave," he said, "but I'm afraid." "Of what?" "Of choosing the wrong road." I smiled a little. "There is no road without mistakes," I said. "There are only roads you stop walking on." He was quiet. Then he asked, "Did you ever choose the wrong road?" I looked at the photo on the wall. "At first, yes," I said, "but it brought me here." He stayed for a while. Then he asked, "Can you show me where this address is?" I looked at the paper. It was across the city, not very far, but not easy to find. I took my jacket. "Come," I said, "I'll show you." We walked. The air was cold, the sky was gray. He talked, I listened. At the corner of his street, he stopped. "Thank you," he said. "I feel lighter." "Good," I said. He walked away. I stood there for a moment. Then I went back. In the workshop, the woman was making tea. The old clock on the wall was ticking. A customer was waiting. Life was there. Busy, quiet, real. That evening, I found my old notebook. The first page was almost empty, only one sentence. "I don't know what I'm doing." I smiled and turned the page, and I wrote, "Now I do." I closed the notebook, I turned off the lights, and I went home. Not because I was tired, but because tomorrow the door would open again, and someone else would walk in with a small piece of paper and a life about to change. Years later, people started calling the workshop the quiet place. Not because it was silent, but because when people entered, their hearts became quieter. I never put a sign like that. It just happened. One day, a journalist came. "I'm writing about places that don't disappear," she said. I didn't understand. "Everything changes," she said, "but some places stay alive." She took photos. She wrote notes. A week later, someone brought a newspaper. There was a small article, a small photo, me standing in the workshop holding a broken chair. After that, more people came. Not too many, but more. Some came to fix things. Some came because they read the article. Some came because someone told them, "Go there." They listen. I was not sure who they were. Maybe it was the place. One afternoon, I found an old envelope inside a drawer. My old handwriting, my old address, the room I rented when I first arrived. I went there. The building was still there, but someone else lived in that room now. I stood in front of the door for a long time. Then I left. Some doors are only for one season of your life. That evening, I walked by the bus station again. It was louder, bigger, brighter, but in one corner, the same old bench was still there. I sat down. I closed my eyes. For a moment, I was 26 again, lost, afraid, holding a small piece of paper. Then I opened my eyes, and I smiled. A young woman was sitting next to me. She was crying quietly. I waited. After a while, she looked at me. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to."
It's okay, I said. She looked at my face. Do you know this city? She asked. A little, I said. She showed me her phone. No signal. Battery almost dead. She laughed and cried at the same time. I think I made a mistake, she said. I stood up. I took my jacket. Come, I said. Let's start with a cup of tea. She looked at me. Then she nodded. We walked, and somewhere inside me, a very old memory smiled. We walked in silence. The city lights were coming on. The air was cool. At the workshop, I opened the door and turned on the lights. She sat near the table and held the warm cup of tea with both hands. Slowly, she started to breathe better. I don't know what I'm doing, she said. I smiled. I know that feeling. She stayed for a while. Then she stood up. Thank you, she said. I think I know my next step now. That's enough, I said. She left. I stayed. I cleaned the cups. I looked at the wall, at the tools, at the photo, at the small cracks, at the life inside this place. That night, I walked home slowly. I passed the river. I passed the bridge. I passed the bus station. I did not stop this time. At home, I opened my notebook. On the last page, I wrote, I met a stranger once, and my life changed. Now, I try to be that stranger. I closed the notebook. In the morning, I opened the workshop. The sun came in through the window. The clock was ticking. Someone was already waiting outside. I smiled, and I opened the door. The end.